Good afternoon. My name is Cameron Valier, and I am doing my presentation on culture and religion and Western society, Judaism, Christianity, and the value of the individual. Disclaimer first, power corrupts, and there is no clear line from the Abrahamic monotheism to democracy. I'm not making that argument at all whatsoever. I'm fully aware of the faults of each religion and the faults since Christianity and Judaism have been conceptualized and written about. What I am arguing is that the monotheistic Abrahamic religions, including Islam, is the foundation for which societies can be built on, where they have value in the sovereignty of an individual. History, culture, religion are very complicated and not clear. I'm just making the argument. I'm making the argument that without those religions, that equality before the law, equality under the law, human rights, perhaps won't be possible. I am not in any way making the argument that a religion is better or superior to other beliefs or religions. Again, I recognize the faults, including for women, the poor, minorities, LGBTQ plus people in these religions. And I'm not saying these religions are hard truths, merely that they're aiming to speak to people and aim towards something higher. First of all, religion and culture are one and the same, as Mallory Nye pointed in his discussions, and how they are intertwined. Culture, the thing that people feel they're a part of. Shared values also includes art and literature. Society is more structural than culture, and they can be shared through people's religions or cultures. I'm also talking about natural law, which is a system of right or justice held to be common to all humans and derived from nature, rather than the rules of society, or positive law, and that is from Britannica. I'm using this definition of religion from anthropologist Clifford Geertz. A religion is a system of beliefs, a system of symbols which acts to establish power, pervasive and long-lasting motivations in men and women, by formulating conceptions of general order of existence and clothing these conceptions with such an aura of factuality that the moods and motivations seem uniquely. I am making the argument that the Abrahamic religions, including Islam, which I don't speak too much about in this presentation for time's sake, are foundational pieces for valuing of the individual. And perhaps without those, societies could not form or allow for these ideas of equality before the law, equal opportunity, or democracy. I am making an argument that these Abrahamic religions have a march towards a common good. And I have a quote here from Casey B. Hugh and Andrew T. Walker in their article, Toward a Baptist Natural Law Conception of a Common Good, which is a scholarly article. As an end, the common good realizes a state of affairs where institutions are properly ordered and human flourishing is present. The common good is not contemporaneous with the justice, but facilitates the advancement and realization of justice. Yet the common good will never be realized or devoid of justice. I also included Larry Seidentop's Inventing the Individual book, The Origins of Western Liberalism, which I do not talk about too much in this presentation, but was a motivating factor in talking about this subject. So first of all, natural rights. People are born with certain rights that are not given to them by governments or institutions or monarchy, but a person is born with them. They are given to them by the divine when they are born. This is spoke about numerous times throughout history by Greek and Roman Stoics, Plato and Aristotle, by Thomas Hobbes, and as you can see in the top right, Thomas Aquinas. The morality of law is grounded in moral values and a foundational piece for democracy and human rights. I'm just going to read you some quotes from Genesis 1:26, Romans 2:14, and Matthew 5:21. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all of earth, and every creeping thing that creeps on earth." Romans 2:14, For when the Gentiles, which have not the law, do by nature the things contained in the law, these, having not the law, are law in themselves. In Matthew 5:21, ye have heard that it was said of them old time, thou shalt not kill, and whoever shall kill shall be in danger of the judgment. In Judaism, anyone who destroys human life is considered as if he has destroyed the entire world, and anyone who preserves human life is considered to preserve the entire world. Murder detracts from God. This is from Resna Bamarki in Murder in Judaism, a theological perspective, which is a scholarly article. Murder detracts from God's cosmic justice in that it damages an aspect of justice that is related to human beings. Social justice is achieved through the protection of the weak. In short, murder as an ultimate act of oppression of the weak constitutes social injustice and the results of disruption of God's cosmic harmony. All of these are examples of the morality in the sacred texts, and they aim to bestow on the followers that murder, for example, what we were just talking about, is bad, and it's not legally bad. It's not bad because the government says it's bad, but it is immoral and against God's wishes, and that when you commit an act of murder, it's an unethical act and is actually going against God. Judeo-Christian, so this is from Journal of Religious Ethics from David Novak, in Natural Law, Border Concept Between Judaism and Christianity. Natural law, then, is a general revelation which both Judaism and Christianity have already discovered in the world, rather than having brought into it from the world from their own special revelations. And I think what Novak is saying here is that those religions have not found them, or not created them, but have found them. And that these are things to be discovered, not invented. And this is William Banner from the Journal of Religious Thought, Christian Ideas of Human Equality and Social Justice. The interweaving of traditions in these contexts make it difficult to discover a modern formulation of natural law ideas completely free from influences traceable to Christian thinkers. The formulations of natural law ideas having least acknowledged connection with Christian thought were those of modern classical rationalists, and he names the rationalists. To this tradition we have already referred as the gospel of revolutionary liberalism. These classical ideas appeared in the latter part of the 18th century in the American Declaration of Independence, which we'll talk about in a second, and the French Bill of Rights, not to mention their popular expression in Thomas Paine's The Rights of Man. Speaking of the Declaration of Independence, I don't think it can be understated how important the American Revolution and Americans' independence from Britain is important to the world, and to democracy and to rights, even though they do not always live up to the words in which it speaks. Slavery, women's rights, gay rights, etc. But the groundwork is laid to be built upon. In the Declaration they say, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that all are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. And I think this is really important because it's speaking to how governments and monarchies and institutions don't give people their rights, but they're born with them and given to them by their Creator, and they cannot be taken away. And in the bottom here, I have a little arrow: religion endowed by the Creator with certain inalienable rights, and how that affects a culture and then later affects in a society and paves the way for these rights to be attained by every person, including LGBTQ plus people, including women, including minorities, and that without the Declaration of Independence and without the groundwork for the idea of unalienable rights that are given by a Creator, that the foundational aspects of democracy and republics would almost be impossible to think of. Here I have a diagram showing how law can be immoral, and something immoral or something moral could be illegal, and natural law is in between those two things, and how that there's overlap of those two things, and that it's possible for those things to be overlapping, and that those natural laws and natural rights are given by a Creator, so they cannot be taken away by our government. They have to be upheld by the government. And going back to the Declaration, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, and in that it talks about how if a government fails to do these, that they may form a new government. And basically, the argument I am making is that without this idea, without natural rights, that democracy and equality are things that couldn't have been possible. And that's my presentation. Here's my bibliography. Thank you for listening.